Hello, and welcome to the Shady Show. Well, I hope all of you are doing well and taking care of yourself and your family, and things are perfectly fine. Today is a very different day. I've been having guests coming on the show and talking about emerging technologies, but of late, what I've seen is that there were elections in India, and particularly in Uttar Pradesh, um, which is the largest state in India, and the huge population of around about 22 crores, 22 people. And the election was in the last month. And what I saw was there were lots of people who were actually talking about commenting on, um, on YouTube and also in the media about what is going to happen. And there were lots of comments being made around what is going to happen and what data was in the past and so forth. But there was a little problem. And the problem was that they were not working on actual data. And there were lots of myths and there were lots of comments that were made. So what I thought was that if there is an opportunity to get access to the data set on Uttar Pradesh elections, then why not share that with the audience and to show them actually what actually happened and what people were saying, how accurate was that. So we will have a data-based approach to the results and take a look at each and every aspect of the results. And what I'll also do is give an opportunity to you guys to ask questions on how it is and what we are seeing. And if you've got any questions on the fly, I will take this question and give you answers on them. So, before I go ahead, a very, very simple question. Please like this video and share it with your friends and family. This is of very interest to people who are interested in politics, people who are interested in data, would be wanting to have a look at this and see how they can, value out of what's going on and how data can actually make a huge difference. So I will deep dive into the data. Please like this video, share it around. And also, one more thing I realized talking of data, that 92% of the people who actually watch this video are not my subscribers. And that's a bit of a difference which I see. So if you're watching this, please press the subscribe button and also press the like button and press the bell icon on YouTube so that you can be alerted when a new video is on. So very quickly, I'll quickly deep dive into the data and start working on. And please tell me where you're watching this video from so that I understand my audience. Please put that in the comment section where you're watching this video from. So now, without any further ado, I'll deep dive into the data quickly. Perfect. Here we go. Here we go. So this is the data that we're looking at. Hopefully you're able to see the screen and you're able to see the data. So what I've done is I have brought in together the data, the results from 2022 and the results from 2017, and I've brought them all together. So very quickly, let's look at the total number of screens, a total number of rows. So I've got 403 rows. These are the 403 constituencies where elections were held in the UP. So both in 2017 and 2022. So they were roundabout. There were roundabout 403 constituencies. And if I look at poll percent of 2022 by phase, so let me have a look. So this is how the polling percent was in 2022 and 2017. So if you look here, the highest poll percent was in Nakur in phase 2. So if you look at by phases, the poll percent actually went down in phase 6 in 2022, whereas otherwise the highest poll percent was in Maroni in phase 3 and Nakur 75.9% in 2022. Whereas if you look at 2017, again Nakur. So Nakur is a place where they always poll really, really highly. Looking at low numbers, 41% in Allahabad North, and that was in 2017. And again, Allahabad North in phase 5 was 39% in 2022. So Allahabad North and Allahabad. So Allahabad basically does really low percentage of voting, whereas um, Kursi had a higher percentage of voting, which was 72%. So if you look at the high level percentages, more than 70%, um, they were they were simply the same. There was not much change. There was Kairana, which had 69% polling, and went up to 75%. So Kairana polled 5% more than it polled in 2017. Looking at the low percentage votes percentages, of course, we had Allahabad, Saibabad, and Noida, which were low percentage both in 2017 and 2022. If you look at the median averages, if you look at the median, um, um, in 2022, there was 57% in phase 5 and 56%. So, if you look at it at the down end of the polling, poll phase 5, 6, 7, they polled lower compared to the phases 1, 2, 3, 4. Similarly, there was a similar pattern in 2017 as well, and that's what each polling phase was by polling percent. Very quickly, if I so what I also looked at was the days of polling, and which was very important. So if you look at it in 2022 when the polling happened, this is what happened, right? Um, the days of polling, basically, if it was a Sunday, um, the polling percentage was low, whereas on Wednesday there was a higher percentage of polling compared to um, Sunday. Or Sunday, you would expect people to go on polling because it's a public holiday. But what we saw was that it wasn't as high as Wednesday, um, on the day of polling. So Wednesday, the polling percentage was quite high compared to Sunday and even Monday and Thursday. So Wednesday polled higher compared to Wednesday, and Sunday polled higher. Even Sunday polled higher. Okay, so these were the days polling percent by weekday. So looking at the region, so what we've done is we've divided by the percentage by week, by weekday, by the region as well. So if you look at it, the highest percentage was in polling percentage was in West. So look at West; it polled really, really high percentage of polling, whereas East polled lower percentage. East and Northeast polls, they actually polled lower percentage. So Northeast and East polled lower, whereas West was high percentage, as Awadh and Bundelkhand also polled higher. Okay, so Awadh, Bundelkhand, and Daob, they were above 60%, whereas East and Northeast were below 60%, and Rohilkhand and West were above 60% again. So East and Northeast polled really low percentage. So again, this was driven by Northeast, Allahabad, Allahabad North and South, um, Utrala, and then Balrampur, which were on the lower end. Bairia and and what else? Allahabad West. So Allahabad polled really low. I don't know what was the reason, but there was a low percentage of polling on in Allahabad if you look at by region. Okay, very quickly, if you look at the poll percent by comparing the 2 years. So if you look at it, so if I look at here, The poll percent in Jangipur, for example, increased by 8%, and so did in Gazipur from 54% to 62%, whereas Karhal, the poll percent actually increased by 8%. Um, Similarly, if you look at Nakur, the poll percent was similar, whereas Allahabad North is like the same pattern. So if you look here, the poll percent dropped for Ghazipur and Jangipur. It dropped by 6%. Similarly, Agra South dropped by another 6%. Um, Shahganj dropped by 5%, and so did Chunar, dropped by 4%. Whereas, Rai Bareli, it had I think, 4% uplift in their polling percent. If you look at Allahabad South, again, it dropped by 2%, dropped by um, 2%, and Utrola dropped by 3%. So there was a drop in poll percentages, but it was fairly the same in that region. So they were the same culprits. They were like, if they were polling high, they were polling high. There wasn't a big change in polling percent if you look at it. So there was not a major change. Manjanpur was again 3% drop in polls. Okay, now let's look at which party performed. How did the parties perform? So let's look at the performance of um, parties, and let's look at the winning party for 2022, and so that we are all on the same page. So Bharatiya Janata Party got 255 seats. Samajwadi Party got 111 seats. Then they were in association with Rashtriya Lok Dal, which was 6 seats, and sorry, which was 8 seats, and Suhail Dev Bharatiya Samaj Party was again 6 seats. So these parties worked together, whereas Congress had 2 seats, and बहुjan Samaj Party had only 1 seat. So if you look at it, Bharatiya Janata Party had 63% of the seats, and Samajwadi Party had 27% of the seats. Okay, now very very quickly, let me change some, give some labels, so that we can know the winning candidates as well. Now let's look at what happened if the poll percent increased. Did that also lead to increase in margin percent? So let's have a look at this. Actually, this is what happened. So when the myth is that if there is a higher poll percent, the margin would increase, but actually that's not so. So if you look at it, so this is the area where the poll percent increased, and so did the margin percent increase as well. So let's look at those seats. Meroni, uh, the poll percent was 73%, 74%, and the margin was 33%. Similarly, Barkhera, Bharatiya Janata Party won 73% of 72.6% of polling, and 35% of 34.5% um, of the margin. If you look at Amroha, Samajwadi Party won. It was 70.7% of polling, which led to 31.8% of margin. So Lalitpur, the poll percent was 67% and 32% of margin. Now look at these seats. So Nakur, there was 75.9% of polling, and Bharatiya Janata Party only won by 0.1%. So, so if you look at it, a lot of seats here had higher polling percent, but very low margin percent. So if you look at this seat here, Dibyapur, again 0.2% margin, Samajwadi Party won by 0.2%, and 61.5% of the polling percentage was there. So you can't say really that if the margin, the polling increases in that particular region, the margin also increases. It's not right. Whereas if you look at here the so Noida, Pankaj Singh, 48% was polling, and so the margin was 52%. So these were a few seats, around about, if you look at 15 seats, where the margin was high, and so was the polling percent was high, and so was the margin. Whereas, sorry, the polling percent was low, but the margin was high. Um, Similarly, if I look at these seats, here the polling and the margin was high. And these are the seats where the margin and the polling percent was low. So these were those seats. For example, if you look at this seat here, it's Itwa. Itwa had Samajwadi Party winning, and and it was 1% margin, and 49% of voting was there. So Mata Prasad Pandey won by a very low margin, but the polling went very high here. Okay, let's quickly move on. Um, so if you look at margin by, so was there a change in margin percent from 2022 to 2017? Let's have a look. 2017 to 2022. Let's have a look at that. So here are the percentage comparison. So on the left hand axis, I've got the margin percent of UP in 2017, and on the x axis, I've got the margin percent of UP. So these are the seats here who are safe seats uh, for the parties, and these are 14 safe seats. Both in 2017 and 2022, they won with a high margin. Now, did they have the same? So this was won by Bharatiya Janata Party. This was won by, again, Shrikant Sharma, Bharatiya Janata Party. 40%, 41%, same margin price. Govindpur, again, Bharatiya Janata Party, 38%, 42%. Ajit Pal Tyagi, Bharatiya Janata Party, 35%, 35%. See, imagine the margin percent is exactly the same. Maharajpur, same, you find the same kind of polling. And so all these seats, I think, are safe seats for Bharatiya Janata Party. These are 14 safe seats for Bharatiya Janata Party. All of these seats. So they were all won and retained by Bharatiya Janata Party. And so they should be really, these are safe seats, 14 safe seats. 2 years, 2 times in a row, they won with a high margin. Whereas, if you look at these seats where the margin has actually moved um, in 2022 from 2017. So, for example, if you look at this one, Jansatta Lok Tantrik Party, so the margin has dropped from 52% to 15.6%. So this is a seat of Kunda, Raghuraj Pratap Singh, and he needs to be worried about it because the margin percent has decreased by a huge 25, 26%. Similarly, if you look at Rath, Bharatiya Janata Party, they should be worried here. 44% was in 2017, has dropped down to 24%. This seat here is Aditi Singh. So Aditi Singh, actually, this is an interesting case actually, because she contested from uh, Indian National Congress last year, and we'll see that in a minute. That so she had 43% winning margin in 2017, has dropped down to 3.1%. So she must be worried as well. Ayaz Shah, Bharatiya Janata Party, 34% in 2017, dropped down to 22 by 8%. Similarly, Khaga, Bharatiya Janata Party, 2.8% from 31.2%. They should be worried. And so, again, Bindki, 31% to 2%. That's Apnadal, Jai Kumar Singh Jaiki, must be worried about it. And let's have a look at this one. Gauri Shankar, Bharatiya Janata Party, 16% of drop in their margin. They must be worried. And then these are the ones which have been in a similar spot, Samajwadi Party. And we will look at the lower seats as well in a minute. But if you look at these seats where, the margin has increased, so let's look at these seats where margin has increased. significantly. So there are 12 seats where the margin is increased. And so, for example, of course, Yogi Adityanath, his margin is increased from 27.9% to 41.5%. Um, Hathras, 29% to 30% to 38%. Then you've got Ramkola, Bharatiya Janata Party, 28.7% to 34.2%. Then you've got Barkhera, where the percentage has gone up by 7%. Then you've got your um, Thakur Jaivir Singh, Bharatiya Janata Party increased by 8, sorry, 4 plus, how much? 11, 21%, significant increase. And so here is um, Bharatiya Janata. So these are all again Bharatiya Janata Party seats, which have now become safe seats. And we will let's look at these seats only for a minute. Let me just quickly um, uh, look at these seats by themselves and see where are my seats. Here we go. So and see where they are coming from, which party, which winning party are they from. um Sorry, wrong uh thing to do. Winning party. So see, most of those seats are Bharatiya Janata Party seats. uh Most of them actually. And so Bharatiya Janata Party has significantly gained, apart from a few in few for Samajwadi Party. So very quickly now, let's go and look at. So there is a myth that if there is high polling percent, if the polling percent is high, then Bharatiya Janata Party actually benefits. So let's have a look. Is that true? Is that myth true? So this is where we see where the polling percentage was higher than 60%. And so let's have a look at these seats. So what happened? Did all these seats, so these are 208 seats, which had polling percent higher than 60%. Let's see what happened here. So did Bharatiya Janata Party look at these seats? Sorry, again, wrong column. So if I look at that, so those 208 seats, 66% of those 208 seats were won by Bharatiya Janata Party, and 25% of those seats were won by 53 seats were won by Samajwadi Party. So it was, you can say that, but you can't. It's like not a clear cut win. 66% Bharatiya Janata Party. But now look at the other side of things, which is when if the polling percentage is low, then what happens? So when the polling percentage is between is less than 50%, then what happens? Let's have a look at that. If the polling percent is low, then what happens is Bharatiya Janata Party gets 70% of those seats, and Samajwadi Party only gets 23%. So that is also a kind of a, so if you club Apna Dal with them, so they're getting more than 75% of the seats, 76% of the seats. Out of, so 10 out of 13 seats go to Bharatiya Janata Party, and they're, so if the voting percent is lower. Okay, now let's very quickly look at other things. Margin percent by polling percent. So another thing is that if the polling percent is high, does that mean that the margin also goes high? I think we've seen that. Let's look at the other one. The other thing that comes to mind is what happens. What is happening in the what do you say? Um, let's look at all the phases by who won in those phases. So let's look at that. So here we go. It was said that phase 1 and 2, it was highly mentioned that phase 1 and 2 were skewed towards, they were commenting, were skewed towards Samajwadi Party, but actually it didn't happen. Phase 1, 80% of the seats went to Bharatiya Janata Party, whereas phase 2, 56% of the seats went to Bharatiya Janata Party, and 43% of the seats went to Samajwadi Party in phase 2. The interesting stuff is that in phase 7, see, in phase 7, 38% of the seats went to Bharatiya Janata Party, whereas 42%. So in phase 7, Samajwadi Party actually gained. They got more seats, far more seats than Bharatiya Janata Party. So phase 7 was when it didn't work out for Bharatiya Janata Party, and phase 5. So phase 5, uh, again 54% of the seats went to Bharatiya Janata Party. If I take a cutoff of 50%, then it was safe. But of course, phase 7 was of worry to Bharatiya Janata Party, because that was the time when Samajwadi Party did better than the Bharatiya Janata Party. Now let's look at another thing. One more thing that comes to mind is around, there's a lot of talk around the SC/ST seats. So let's look at the SC/ST seats. Okay, so constituency type, and let's look at which party won where. So if I look at that, um, in the general category, Bharatiya Janata Party won 61% of the seats, whereas in ST they won all the seats, and in scheduled caste they won 70% of the seats. So this is the area of worry for Samajwadi Party, that they're not performed any well in in SC/ST seats, and there are quite a number of seats there uh, which were left out by Samajwadi Party altogether. Had they performed better there, they would have done even better, because SC and ST are 86 seats, and they didn't do very well there here. Though if I club together, it's around about 20% of the seats, 22% of the seats that go to RLD and Suhel Dev Bharatiya Samaj Party and Samajwadi Party, whereas and 20% of the seats are at risk. So they should actually focus on these seats as well, because they are quite in a worry out here. Now let's look at margin percent of winning parties. So these are the winning parties and their margin percent. So let's start. Um, Very quickly, we see that the margin percent of BJP has been significant. For example, here, Noida, Pankaj Singh had 52.5%, then followed by Meerut Kent Amit Agarwal, which is 48.5% of margin. Then we had Purushottam Khandelwal, which is Agra North, 47%. Sunil Kumar Sharma, Bharatiya Janata Party, which is 44.9%, and so forth. For Khadda region was won by Nirbal Indian Nishad Party, which got Vivekanand Pandey, got 20.5% of margin. From Samajwadi Party point of view, Jaswantnagar, they got Shivpal Singh Yadav, that is their own home seat, 36%, which I've heard is going to BJP again, because I think Shivpal Singh Yadav is moving to BJP, if I'm not wrong. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Mehboob Ali got 31.8% margin. Muhammad Ali, this is Azam Khan, has got 28.8% of margin, whereas Akhilesh Yadav only got 27.6% of margin, which is quite worrying for him in Karal. So if you look at that, this is the prime ministerial candidate, and if he's only getting 27.6%, then there is something to worry about. Um, let's look at Apnadal. Apnadal had Vishwanath Ganj, which Jeet Lal won with 24.1%. And Indian National Congress, well, they should be worried, because Virendra Chaudhary also got 0.6% margin. So Farendra, I don't think they will. Rampur Khas Aradhana Mishra Mona, and she won by 9%. So yeah, that's fine. बहुjan Samaj Party, again, only 3.3%. So these guys should be worried, because these can be taken in a jiffy. These seats can be lost very, very quickly. Similarly, Zafarabad, 2.8% for SBSP. Jagdish Narayan, I think they should be worried as well. So these are some low margin seats. Okay, now let's look at margin percent by district. So if I look at the margin percent by district, and let's quickly look at. So it's all covered by the orange color. We would imagine. Again, um we see Noida being the highest, and then followed by, and you can find Varanasi, Kant, Saurabh Srivastav, who's got 35%, Meerut, Kant. Then we've got another one here, which is Agra North, Baroli. These are some high value seats. So let's look at Samajwadi Party. So Samajwadi Party, if you look at the red color, is Karhal here. We've got Jaswant Nagar. We've just talked about Amroha. Then you've got Suar, which is then you've got Rampur, and then you've got Mohammad Nasir, Samajwadi Party. So these are the seats that you know um, by each and every district, and by the winning party. Okay. The other thing that really comes to mind, and let's actually create that uh, thought, is around the fact what happened to low margin seats. So if I look at low margin seats of less than 5%, um, okay, so let's make it less than 5%, and see where did those seats come from. So there were 131 seats which were less than 5%. Let's have a look which party actually won these seats. Here we go. So these seats, low margin seats, Bharatiya Janata Party, 68%. 68 seats, and Samajwadi Party 47 seats. So imagine 35% seats were won by Samajwadi Party, and 68 seats, 51% were by BJP. So BJP should be worried here as well, and so should be Samajwadi Party. Let me just reduce that margin to actually less than 1%. Then what happens? Let's have a look at that. So if this goes to 1%, and let's rerun this. So this is what happened then. 11 seats, so 36 seats. 36% of the seats were won by Samajwadi Party, and 50% of the seats. So these are the seats to be worried about, because they are less than 1%. So there are 30 seats that are up for grabs, and can go anywhere at any point in time. So I would suggest, and this list is easy to collect. And these are the list of people who should be worried and should go and work in their region, because these 15 plus 11, all these guys should go in and work in their region, because they have trouble brewing out there, because they've got really low margin, and they can go anywhere in next elections. Okay, the other thing that also was interesting for me when I was looking at the data was around let me have a look, was around repeat candidates. So let's see which all candidates the people actually decided to vote for again. So let's look at the repeated candidates who actually won their seats again, and let's look at the repeat candidates. So there were 114 candidates who actually won their seats again. So they were the repeat candidates. Maybe they changed the so these were the repeat candidates, of which 93, which was 81% of Bharatiya Janata Party candidates repeated. So they won their They won in 2017 and again won in 2022, whereas 18 only 18, which is 15% of the candidates were from Samajwadi Party. So that is a bit of a worry. So Bharatiya Janata Party is doing very good, but if I look at if I add to this, if they retain the seats, or they change the seats, there were six candidates who changed parties but still won. Let's have a look at those ones. Um, let's create a subset. So this is interesting. Six candidates. So here people voted for the candidates. They didn't vote for the party. That's what I think, because last time they were, for example, Ramachal Rajbhar, he was in BSP, and now he came to Samajwadi Party and won again. So though the voting percent, let's look at the voting percent for these guys, but and the polling percent as well. So let's look at that. So these guys um, still got so look at this, Hardoi, Nitin Agarwal, and Nitin Agarwal, uh, here is go. He was last time in Samajwadi Party, came to from Hardoi to Bharatiya Janata Party and won handsomely. So I think so he won by 20%, around about 18%. So I think Samajwadi Party needs to think about these guys. Raghuraj Pratap Singh in Kunda, he was in. He was independent, of course, and he's got his own party now. Whereas Babaganj seat for Vinod Kumar, Janta Dal Lok, so he's from JDL. I think that is the current party of Raghuraj Singh, um, if I'm not wrong. Um, or maybe I'm wrong. Jansatta Dal Loktantrik Party. Then, if you look at Rai Bareli, this is of worry. Poll percent 61%. Aditi Singh was in INC, in Congress Party, 33.1% margin. She won, but the voting percent was 61%, 62% as well. So Congress had to think about this. Why did they lose her? Similarly, Shikohabad, Samajwadi Party, Mukesh Verma, he was in. Mukesh Verma is now in Samajwadi Party, and he came from Bharatiya Janata Party. So the Firozabad seat, um, is that the Firozabad seat or the Shikohabad seat, um, where the candidate changed. So they changed the candidate as well as the party where they were, the area where they were um, voting. Okay, let me go back and close this now. So these are things that these guys need to be worried about. If I look at how the winning parties, so let's look at um, BJP seats. So where did the BJP got their total seats from this time around? So let's look at BJP, and so BJP this year, um, in 2022, had 225 seats. So let's look at these 225 seats. Where were they in 2017? So in 2017, these seats, as we said, majority of them were with Bharatiya Janata Party, but they gained 10 seats from Samajwadi Party, they gained 5 seats from Bahujan Samaj Party, and 232 seats were their own seats, whereas they got 2 seats from Suhel Dev, Bharatiya Samaj Party. So they won around about 25 seats, 10% of the seats from 10 plus 2, 4, 6, around about 22 seats from 23 seats from uh, other other parties. Now, if I remove that NFC, where did Samajwadi Party get their seats from last time? And so Samajwadi Party actually got their seats. They retained 36 of their seats, and they got 59 seats from Bharatiya Janata Party. 11 seats from Bahujan Samaj Party. Now this is interesting. Now if I change this and let's see, where did Bahujan Samaj Party seats go this time around? Because there is a lot of talk that Bahujan Samaj Party transferred their seats to last seats to BJP, and is that true? So they won 19 seats in 2017, and in 2022, where did the seats go to? Maximum seats go to? They actually maximum of the seats. So out of 19, 11 seats went to Samajwadi Party, and only 5 seats went to Bharatiya Janata Party. So that is of that is how it was, and so there was no. The data doesn't suggest that Bahujan Samaj Party um, and they retained their 1 seat. They only retained their 1 seat, and most of the seats, 57% seats went to 58% seats went to um, Samajwadi Party. So the seats were transferred to Samajwadi Party, not to Bharatiya Janata Party, as on the contrary on what people have been saying. So that's another myth busted. Okay. Um, Finally, I will do one more analysis, and that is a myth around if the so there is a myth. If you look at it, if the poll percent increases, what does that do to the margin percent? Does the margin percent increase as well? Let's have a look at that. Logically, it should, but let's look at if there is any correlation between the two. So what I will do is I will do a correlation between the margin percent and the poll percent. And actually, there is no evidence that if the poll percent increases, margin percent will also increase. So that is there in front of you, because it's a very low R value, which says that the margin percent is, so the correlation is not there at all. Again, now let me very quickly get to the questions, what's going on there, and see if we've got any questions. No questions. I think people haven't asked. If you've got any questions, guys, put those questions, and I will take the data and see how can I answer those questions. All I've got is a message from Raktim, who says there's Raktim Singh on from Bangalore. If you've got a question, let me know what question do you have, and I will take the question. So please put forward your question, and I will take that question now, and I'll wait for 2 minutes. And in the meantime, I will also go back to the data and see if any other insights that we can draw at the moment. Let's look at the data again. Let's go back to the data. Okay. What else? Constituency type, we did that. Margin percent, we did most of it. Let's look at the margin percent and of. Let's look at this. And I was looking at the and this could be really interesting for Samajwadi Party guys to take a look at all the seats which they polled less than 5%. Sorry. So let's look at all the seats which were less than 5% won by Samajwadi Party. Here we go. And so there are 47 seats which Samajwadi Party won and were less than 5%. So very quickly, let's have a look at these seats. Let's look at the name of the constituency, 47 seats, and look at the margin percent. Guys, if you've got a question, please let me know, and I will take the question and answer the question from the data. Okay, here we go. So, the seats to worry. Ramnagar, 0.1%. Samajwadi Party won. Seats to worry. Isoli, 0.1%. Mohammad Tahir Khan. Seats to worry. Chandpur, 0.1%. Swami Omvesh. Seats to worry, 0.2%, Dibyapur. Seats to worry for Samajwadi Party, Jasrana, 0.3%. Um, Seats to worry, Dumariaganj, 0.4%, Saida Khatun. Seats to worry, 0.9%, Kithor. So let's look at these seats. So these are the seats to worry, which is less than 0.5%. And they are Dumariaganj, Dibyapur, Chandpur, Isoli, Jasrana, and Ramnagar. These are the seats to worry, really worry, and I would suggest all these guys to go back to their constituency and start doing work because they are really, really in trouble. Similarly, let's look at Bharatiya Janata Party seats. So Bharatiya Janata Party seats, let me just read on the script. Okay, so constituency name and margin percent. So BJP, the seats to worry are, which are less than 5%. And let's look at the ones at the bottom end. Here we go. So the seats to worry for BJP, Bharat, 0.2% margin, and Krishan Pal Malik. You must be on the ground, I hope. Bilaspur, 0.1%, Baldev Singh Olak. Chibramau seat, Archana Pandey, 0.4%. Dhampur, 0.1%, Ashok Kumar Rana. Please get onto the ground. Katra, 0.2%, Veer Vikram Singh. Sakindra Pratap, 0.1%, Kursi. Muradabad, Nagar, 0.2%, Ritesh Kumar Gupta. Mukesh Chaudhary, Nakur, 0.1%. And Nakur, I think, had a high polling percent as well. Om Kumar, Nator, 0.1%. So you guys must be worried. Similarly, if I look at less than 0.5%, we've got Badlapur, 0.6%, Ramesh Chandra Mishra. We've got Sitapur, 0.5%, Rakesh Rathore. Ramferan, Shravasti, you know what to do. And then Vinod Singh, Sultanpur, 0.5%. So these guys should be on their ground doing their bit. So these are the guys, these are seats which are really, really low, low margin percent. 1% for Salon. These are touch and go seats. Now, though this is interesting, let us look at the margin in terms of the number of votes that actually margin was for these guys. Let me have a look at that. Margin in votes. And that could be telling a different story. Okay, here we go. So the margin in votes, Bharat, 315 votes. Bilaspur, 307 votes. Chibramau, 1,111 votes. Dhampur, 203 votes. Katra, 357 votes difference. I think these are the seats which people should be worried about. Kursi, 207 seats, 17 seats. Votes, sorry. Netor, 258 votes. Nakur, 315 votes. And Muradabad Nagar, 782 votes. You guys must be worried, guys, and should be on the ground because this number of votes are quite low. Bijnor, 1,445 votes. Badlapur, 1,326 votes. And here is Sitapur, 1,253 votes. And so is Shravasti, 1,457 votes. So these are votes you need to be gaining next time. Otherwise, you will be in trouble. Okay, very quickly, let's have a look at if there are any other questions, or we'll wrap up. Let's have a look if there are questions. No. So there are no questions, and time to wrap up then. And hopefully, you guys enjoyed the session. And if you've got any questions, you can put in the comment section, and I will definitely take the question as you go. And we'll come back if you want a deep dive into the analysis. So, guys, thank you very much for watching. If you like what you see, please press the like button and share this video with as many people as possible. If you are part of BJP or Samajwadi Party, I think this analysis would be of interest to you. If you're a commentator, I think this could be a good interest to you. If you want me to run this in Hindi, also then please let me know. I will run this in Hindi as well in future, and run you through the analysis. And if you are one of the commentators, please have a look. I've tried to take off a few myths out of the way. Will be helpful for you next time when you're doing the commentary. And please like and share this video with as many people as possible. And furthermore, if you like it, please press the subscribe button and the bell icon so that you get to see such analysis as you watch it in future. So bye now and take care, and I will see you very soon. Bye and see you soon.